Here's to the ladies. Here's to the ladies. Here's to the ladies who brunch.
Welcome back, divas,
Welcome
and Happy
back.
New Year.
And Happy New Year. Oh my gosh.
This is our first official episode filming of 2025, which is absolutely fucking bonkers.
It's going to be the best year
and
ever.
if you don't know, it's going to be the best year
He says
ever.
cautiously.
We have one of the most exciting guests I could ever imagine as our first guest of 2025. You may have seen her in everything, literally everything in the entire world. Star of stage, star of screen, star of the world. She just recently has been working on the Sinatra musical, which is circling like a shark, which I'm so excited about. You have seen her as Gloria Estefan in On Your Feet, Roxy Hart in Chicago, in a play at Lincoln fucking Center. Like, what do you mean? Everything. We're going to get into all the tea. She's also my Miami girl, which just makes my heart so happy. Please welcome to the pod, Ana Vilafañe.
Yay.
Welcome
on. Thanks
I'm
for being
so
here.
excited. Thank you for having me.
And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year.
Any
So-
resolutions?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Are
know-
you like a resolution girly?
I am and I'm not. I don't do like a specific thesis statement, if you will, but I'm more like I started doing this thing with like words recently, and right now my thing is roots.
Roots,
So like
okay.
root versus flower. So like instead of like the appearance of a thing, what about the root of it? And so like kind of making sure to nurture that rather than like the pretty part that everybody talks about, because then it's all coming from a more grounded place and all of that.
Love that.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing like a word too, because I see that some places, and my vibe is like seasons, and I feel like that's kind of like you're
Ooh.
going through seasons of
Yes.
like this is a root season. I love
An
that.
era, if you will.
An era.
Exactly. Well, because then it leaves space for like the ebbs and flows of things, and then you don't have to like hold yourself so tight to one consistent thought.
Well,
Like,
that's my tea, is that for me
Yeah.
is like, this is kind of random. My parents never gave me a curfew growing up, and they always said a curfew was
Jealous.
just, I know, literally. But they got
That's
into
so. I did not.
I
did not
snuck
expect
out
that.
many a window.
but they always said a curfew was just a time for them to start worrying. They were like, it's just like, if we
is
tell
so
you
deep.
be
Yeah.
home at 11 and you're not here at 11,
Yeah, the panic attack starts.
then we start having a
Yeah.
panic attack. They were like, just stay in contact, make sure we know where you are, and then we'll figure it out. And it kind of gives me New Year's resolution vibes, where for me, it's always been like, it's a great reset, it's a great thing, but I'm
Totally.
always like, when I set them so strictly is when I start being like, I'm not doing them, I'm not doing them, I'm not
Yeah.
doing them, versus kind of being like, this is what I want to focus on as an
Totally.
idea for the new year. My ideas are being hot and sexy. That's like what we're going for. Maybe Broadway. Like,
Right.
No, like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
all
Yeah.
that tea.
Well, because then there's a metric to fail from. Did you guys
Exactly.
watch the Golden Globes and watch Demi Moore's speech? Because
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I saw.
Also,
the
have you
speech.
seen The Substance?
No. So listen
Oh.
to this. I haven't seen The Substance, but I did watch the Globes like from start to finish. And now I want even more to watch The Substance. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like there are certain things that have been on my watch list that I haven't gotten to at all.
Yeah.
And I just cannot with what she said about the metric, like putting
Right.
down like the stick, the measuring stick or
Right.
whatnot, because then like you are already enough and all of that. And it kind of goes to what you
Yeah.
just said.
I thought that speech was amazing. Also similar. I had the same thing with the Globes because
Yeah.
like we were at an engagement party. Shout out to Ethan and Zoe on their engagement, who listened to the pod, which is hilarious. But
Love.
Shout out to
I
them.
know it's so sweet. But so we couldn't see it in real time. But of course, like TikTok and everything,
yeah.
and like we're very pop culture people. So just sticking with it. But you posted about Amelia Perez. I haven't
did.
seen it, but
I
I'm
haven't
Loved it,
seen
and
that
it's
either.
controversial.
Right.
But I love it.
But that's how I was, where I was
Yeah.
like, I haven't seen it, but now I need to see it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in.
And I kind of encourage people to see it. I think, the trans community has had a lot of thoughts on it. The Mexican community has a lot of thoughts on it. Certain actors, Emilio Derbez has come out talking about, Selena Gomez's performance. I think that while it is not perfect, it is really important and brave and courageous storytelling. And I
Yeah.
think that needs to be, I'm not saying it's, I'm saying it's a good place to start.
Totally.
I'm saying that I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying that it is better than Wicked or worse than Wicked. It's not
Right.
about musical versus musical. It's not about the music itself. It's not about. It wasn't marketed as a musical.
I didn't even know it was a
Yeah,
musical.
And the music, I mean, I haven't seen it, but the vibe I've gotten is that it's not a musical in the sense, it's almost, the musical is
Correct.
almost the commentary on, like, what if we told music
the
to
internal
tell-
thoughts.
Right.
Correct.
Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But thematically, I think it's massively important. I think in terms of the story it is aiming to tell, whether or not it's done perfectly for certain communities, I think that it is a major thing
Yeah.
that they won and swept the Globes the way that they did
Yeah.
with something so brave. Now, do I think that it's hilarious that a Spanish, like it is literally in Spanish, the movie is in Spanish, and obviously the creative team and the director are French, so it won for best foreign
right.
language film, but for France, which was hilarious. I was like, did anyone watch this
I
movie?
didn't even think
That
of
is
that.
crazy.
That is
Yeah.
so funny.
So like, you know, there's intricacies like that I understand. The commentary is really nuanced,
Right.
but I think it was a very big swing, and the fact that something like that, which is way more independent, which is way less commercial, could take home so much, is really, I think, inspiring for the younger voices, for the people who have something and a fresh perspective. Like maybe, you know, this is where those trans creators and those trans storytellers, like, good, take that ammunition and run
Right,
with it.
totally.
Because we
Conversations
do
happening now,
Correct.
right.
Like,
Yes.
we do need the authentic voices, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is this a good step forward for just the fact that the world is paying attention and that this incredible trans woman at the helm of it is just, her performance is beyond. So like,
I gotta
I
watch
do
it.
highly
And
recommend.
you see that, honestly, you see that in the theater world too, where it's like, you know, you have a show like West Side Story, which was written
Right.
all by white people, but opened the doors for the In the Heightses
Totally.
and for the On Your Feet.
Right.
Like, because then you were able to get people with the authentic voice to come in and say,
Right.
now we're going to tell our story the way we want to tell it.
Correct.
But, and that's not to be like, and they're not problematic at all, those other shows, but
No.
it's like,
The intention behind
intention
it
behind it
wasn't
is there.
all
Right.
negative,
and
right?
then it allows for, I don't know, like I always think about the opening of In the Heights, which you did at the Kennedy Center, which
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with, which is also just such a reference to West Side. You know, that like
100.
that first America percussive
Yeah,
beat.
yeah, yeah.
And like, it's just such a, I mean, Lynn is a genius, obviously.
Correct.
Hot take, Lin-Manuel Miranda's a genius.
This-
Like-
You heard it here
like-
first.
Groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking
Absolutely
tea.
groundbreaking.
But
He's coming
also,
on next week.
could you imagine? Have y'all seen the? Have any?
Mufasa?
Yeah, have
I
you
haven't seen it yet.
I have
I'm dying to see
I'm
it. It's
dying
on
to
that
see
list that
it.
I have.
Have
I
you
know.
heard that song that's gone viral everywhere, the Brother song?
No, I'm on purpose not
Oh,
digesting
then I won't talk about
anything
it.
until I see it, because I think
Right.
I'm gonna get I'm really nostalgic,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I'm just gonna be like a weeping mess from like the moment I sit down.
Were you
but
a
I
Disney
need to see
kid?
it in theaters. Yes, very big Disney
Hardcore.
kid. Hardcore
Same.
Disney kid, hardcore, like all of the lore. I'm about it. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just I don't know. It has to be like special.
Was Lion King? Where was that on the list for you?
I mean, it's pretty up there. Even when I saw The Lion King on Broadway, which was just like I think I saw it in 2022 or something like that. I took an edible and went and
Oh my God!
We were
literally-
talking about doing that.
at the like that first note, I was a mess.
I bet.
You know,
Oh
and then
my
when like
God.
the antelopes are coming down the aisle, I couldn't.
This is hilarious because literally 2 days ago, my parents were in town, and I was talking about how I was looking at tickets for The Lion King, which are $457.
Listen,
To that I say work, but like not
Yeah.
for me at the moment.
I mean, to that I
Exactly.
say make theater
make
accessible.
theater accessible, but
it's a yes and.
it's a yes
It's
and.
both.
But I was telling my mom, I was like, I was trying to get tickets and I just couldn't. And I've seen it a bajillion times. It was like one of the first shows I saw as a kid. And she was like, why are you trying to go see The Lion King again? And I was like, well, me and Jake were thinking of maybe taking a little THC gummy, and Jake had no idea. I was trying to just like
Of
put a
course.
paper bag over his head and like bring him.
Yeah.
But I was like, how could you not? It's a perfect show. Okay.
I mean, it is, and also I think that also things like that tap into like your childhood self or whatever. When you revisit them, you pick up on something else.
Yes.
You know, like it hits a different string in there.
It hits a different
and I
way.
think that's like
It's one of my favorite type of shows and stories in general are the ones that you see differently as a kid than you do as you
Oh, for
grow up.
sure.
Into the Woods, Sunny in
Oh
the
my
Park.
God.
Oh, don't even get me
It's just
started
like
into the woods.
it
Don't
grows
me neither.
with you.
Just drag me into the woods.
You have to every now and then.
Yes.
God.
Oh my god. But you know what I mean? Like it's just like you see it as a kid, you
Yeah.
see it so differently, and it's
For
valid
sure.
still.
That's
It's
how I
like-
feel with Tarzan. It's like
Yes.
I would watch Tarzan before I would go to bed every night, and I was like, I love Tarzan, I love Tarzan. And the other day I was like, let me turn on the soundtrack, the Phil Collins soundtrack.
God.
And I was like, there's a reason that resonated with me. Like, and
Yeah.
now I'm like,
Right.
oh my god, that music was just so
Oh,
beautiful.
it's so good.
The music is insane.
But it's cool to revisit those things like that.
Of course
And you
it
just
is.
like as an adult, it doesn't invalidate your experience as a kid.
No.
But it just opens it up in a new way. You know.
amplifies
Well, and
it.
listen, like adult is so like air quotes to me because like I moved here. It'll be 10 years this fall, which is wild.
She's an
Because
official
on
New
your
Yorker.
feet- yeah.
Oh my god, you are.
So that was what brought me to New York, and I was 24 years old when I got that part. Right.
Right.
Crazy. And so when I think about it, you know, and since then I've watched in multiple countries, in multiple languages. I've watched like a zillion Glorias. And I know what happens,
Right.
Right? Like I know,
You know the story.
everything that happens in that musical. But every time I watch it, it's still like brings something else, you know. And I think that so like even if you're not necessarily kid to adult, like even within adulthood, like I think that just the perspective gained and what you can learn from a piece of art, which is why it's so incredible and why we do it. I think.
Can we talk about On Your Feet?
Yeah, of course.
Because I saw you in it.
What if she was like,
Okay.
no?
No,
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about it.
Next.
No. You were fucking brilliant in it, by the
Thank
way.
you.
Like, and also, what an exciting season to have been on Broadway.
gosh,
like,
wild.
It was. I mean, Cynthia Erivo's making
Yep.
her Broadway debut. Full 10 years. Like, it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy the way this is all
I remember
happening.
going to Bar Central, me, Cynthia Erivo, and Jonathan Groff. And Jonathan Groff being like, you two are working too hard. You need a princess track like
Tea
me
boots.
at Hamilton.
Oh my god, the definition princess
And
track.
he was correct, but
Well, that's
Right.
kind of what I wanted to talk to you about. Is like you just said, like you had moved to the city and you're in rehearsals for the show.
Yes.
When it's happening, you know, and you're doing it in your leggings and sneakers,
Mm.
are you putting the pieces together of like this is a fucking marathon, or are you just kind of like in your zone?
not at all. I think at the time it was very much like what was right in front of me is what I needed to handle. So it was just like, you know, every day of rehearsal, getting the material in my body, getting the choreography in my body.
Fierce choreo.
Yes, a lot of choreo. I think I don't think that I had time to zoom out until like way later. And
Yeah.
and honestly, I think it took like a couple years because you're so, at least me, I tend to be really focused on details. I love like I'm very detail oriented, and I think that in, you know, playing a real person, I wanted those details to be just as alive as she was in the rehearsal room with us. You know what I mean? And so like I needed
Right.
the responsibility factor was too great for me to be like, look at me, I'm on Broadway. Like
Yeah.
that didn't cross
You
my
had
mind.
shit to do.
Correct.
Yeah.
I was like too busy to think about it.
I can't imagine. And also, like, I've seen the hashtag Jerry Mitchell full out. Can you like debunk that tea? Like, what is that? Like,
Okay, so he just says it nonstop. It's kind of like his mantra. And it is the way that he lives his life. Jerry Mitchell is a unicorn person. I love him so much, and he began as a dancer, so he understands what we're going through on the other side of the table, what we're going through in the studio, and I think that the joy that he feels in kind of almost like giving that gift on to the next gen is, it just permeates through his body, and he like radiates. He's just like shiny and
Full out.
full out and expects you, but also inspires you to deliver. It's not that he's like, you know, demanding it necessarily. He makes you want to be your best, which
Yeah.
I love directors like that.
That's
I
great.
love people who just kind of like who inspire you to be your best self just because of the way that they already showed up in the room.
and
you
was
know?
They lead
Gloria
by
always in the
example, right?
room? Like,
Yes.
So you're
Wow.
literally like discovering your version of her,
Yes.
and she's like behind a table at New 42.
Well, correct. And it was so Alex Dinelaris, Academy Award winner for Birdman, our book writer, Jerry Mitchell, Sergio Trujillo, our choreographer, who at the time, you know, was not the Sergio Trujillo of right now.
Right.
However, it's still fucking surreal.
And he's
to me.
also doing like what I would consider his best work at that show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's
Thank you.
eating
Yes.
it up.
Yeah.
Have
Well,
you
he was-
seen those performances?
He
I've
was
seen-
marinated
yeah.
in it. He
The-
was
yeah.
and he
Those
was finally allowed to
dancers-
like
Wow.
express himself in that way and with that music and in his like authenticity, which was such a huge milestone for him. So he had so much, not to prove, but he had so much behind it.
Yeah.
And then the Estefans themselves are in the room.
Wow.
And I'm this like little kid trying to like, who do you listen to more? You
Right.
know, like it
Right.
was like, oh my God, wait,
You're
like,
like,
there's
yes,
a lot of cooks.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
And so you're trying to create this character and like the version, you can't put an entire life into a musical, but you want to inject as much as you can, right? So I'm drawing from her in the room and the person that I'm getting to know. And then I'm having to stand up to these like titans in the industry and be like, so question,
Right.
I don't feel like this is right. Like there was a scene in Act 1 where originally when I got the script and when we started rehearsals, originally Gloria said no words. And there was even a little scene going into it where Emilio would take Gloria and be like, okay, let me do the talking, whatever. And it was like a business scene where they're negotiating a contract. And from maybe a couple weeks of working with her and getting to know her as a human, I was like, that woman would never have stayed silent in that meeting.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Even in shyness, she wouldn't
Correct.
just like.
And I had to
Yeah.
express that to these
Yeah.
people who are, I mean, twice or three times my age, plus like really, really established in the industry. But I
Right.
just had to trust my gut, and I had to voice my opinion because at the end of the day, I was right. And at the end of the day, like it's in our bodies, and as actors and as artists, like you have to be able to have those conversations, even if you're, thinking that who am I to bring up.
And you're doing her justice. It's
Correct.
like you don't
Correct.
want to let her down, and
Right.
not only your interpretation, but just like the life
Totally.
story of her.
And it's so impressive that I feel like the world went through such a change.
Oh,
maybe
yes.
like in 2020, like COVID,
Yes.
all the reckonings you were going
After
through.
Yes.
this.
Exactly. But
Yes.
the fact that before, that's so impressive that before you had that agency to be like, but or
Right.
and or something like that. You know
But
what I mean?
You're right.
but I think like I don't know, it's just impressive. And
Thank you.
And, I mean, and it also I don't know, it changed. I mean, now the industry that's like celebrated, and
Totally.
or at least to an extent. I
The
mean,
Oh,
that's
for sure.
we say we celebrate that, or they say they celebrate
Right.
that. So I don't know, impressive.
yeah.
Thanks.
Was it just like a whirlwind, that whole experience? I mean, like
Yes.
I remember following it, just being so excited for you, and then seeing you on the Tony singing with Gloria
Yeah.
again in like one of the most exciting Tony seasons
Correct.
like ever. I remember On Your Feet getting a little gypped, honestly, because I remember being like, and not because of anything other than the season was so
Correct.
Stacked.
and it was just
What was it like? Waitress? Was Waitress that season too?
Waitress, Hamilton,
Color
Color
Purple,
Purple.
Bright Star,
Bright Star.
She Loves Me.
Shuffle Along,
Oh my
She Loves Me.
God.
So it's funny because
That's crazy.
the New York Times did like an article right after. I remember where I was for the nominations. I was actually at the Waldorf Astoria, and I was staying there the night before the nominations were going to be like announced. And I couldn't watch. I was just like
Of
too nervous. I
course.
was like, a child. But my parents were in town, and I just looked at my mom and I was like, well, and she's like, and I was like, okay. And we like went about life. But the New York Times, I think it was the New York Times, ran an article saying that me and Audra McDonald had gotten snubbed.
I saw that. I remember.
and you were like
and
this.
you're like,
yes,
and I was like,
we
I'll take
were.
that. I'll take that,
which it was. It just was, that season was
Yeah.
crazy. But
Yeah.
like,
I would have
like,
printed that out. I would have had that
she
everywhere.
Audra ended up sending me flowers and like a note that like I literally did frame and one of the dried flowers. And I have that, and that's my Tony.
That's your
That's
your
yeah.
Tony. I love that.
that's my Tony is a good title.
That
of
is such a good title of that. That's my Tony.
So was Audra one of, like, who were your divas growing up that you were obsessing over?
Audra, Bette Midler.
Ooh.
God. I mean, I'm a Helena Bonham Carter like.
Oh my
stan.
God,
Like,
I love
think
her.
Her work is incredible.
Yeah.
Bellatrix the Strange Mama.
Yes, 100.
Oh.
I also, this is really random, but Imelda Staunton, I saw her as Mama
gosh.
Rose at
Oh
the
my
Savoy in London on the West End, and it was one of the most like life-changing
Wow.
experiences ever. She
Yeah.
was
She's phenomenal.
undeniably. I mean, it was I worship at the altar.
Do you know
But,
what scene I'm obsessed with her? I mean, it's an iconic scene. Is Maggie Smith and her in Order of the Phoenix when they're stepping up the stairs. The
Oh my gosh.
loyalty. That scene.
Yeah.
When they're like,
Not the line read.
but the brilliant direction
Drop in.
of
Yes.
them stepping up the stairs, and then her also being so small, and then
Yes.
going, and then Maggie Smith having to go down one. Like it's. Oh, those movies are so fucking good.
Oh, beyond.
Legends.
Beyond.
Legends.
Just
movies.
like they, and that's the tea about those movies. That's also so brilliant is that they took these kids, these
Right.
fans of the books, and said, instead of giving them acting lessons, what if we put them around some of the best Shakespearean
Literally, like-
actors, and just have them through also the streets of New York agree, through osmosis, like just like learn from them.
Right.
Alan Rickman,
What a
Maggie
gift.
Smith,
Correct.
like,
What
Correct.
a gift.
and Helena Bonham Carter,
Yeah.
and they did. By the end,
Yeah.
they are acting their asses off,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's
Emma Watson, mama.
Emma Watson.
Well, what are your thoughts on them making it into a TV? Have you heard this? They're doing a new TV show.
I will watch it.
Oh, of course.
I will also
I
be
don't
watching
care.
it.
I will
watch
watch
it.
it. Yeah.
I'm so excited to
I think
watch
like
that.
well, for me, it's what's more heartbreaking is like the J.K. Rowling of it all.
Of
I know.
course.
I think like, and that's what's frustrating. I'm like, ugh, we can't have anything
I
anymore.
know.
Like,
But she's the worst.
The only solace I take
Awful.
is that the characters she wrote
Correct.
would hate her.
Well,
like,
correct.
That's the only
Correct.
thing I take with me is like Hermione Granger would
oh my god,
destroy you. Like,
Also, like everything that the narrative represents about like. Good versus evil, and about purebloods, all this stuff, like all
Yeah.
of that elite sensibility, and
Yeah.
it's so interesting. It's so mind-boggling.
It is
that
mind-boggling.
I want something
That she's like a Death Eater, like on the DL.
literally.
It's so weird.
I
Yes.
want someone to make like the Elizabeth Holmes like documentary
Oh,
type
right,
thing
right,
like
right.
about her
The
where
downfall.
Yeah.
And you know who should play her?
Who?
Say it with me.
Amanda
Kate
Seyfried.
Blanchett.
Oh!
Kate Blanchett, Lydia Tarr. She would
Yes.
eat
Oh
J.K.
my God,
Rowling
she
up.
would eat
The
the scene where
downfall.
she's writing it
Kate
in like
Blanchett
the
would eat anything.
I
I'm
know.
like,
yeah.
Oh.
I'll see her
Dude.
play George Washington. Like I don't care.
I'll see her play Harry Potter in the series. Are you kidding?
God, she'd be so good as
Honestly,
Harry Potter.
shot one is her writing the book in the pizza parlor with like being like, I have an idea for a,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
was it on
yeah.
a train or a pizza napkin? Didn't that where she wrote like chapter one?
I don't
In like a
know.
coffee shop. She wrote in like a
Yeah.
napkin or something, I think. Yeah. or
So
a bookstore or
that's
something.
that's shot number one for me. Oh my god, that's a great idea.
Because she-
Blanchett. And you
J.K.
said
Rowling
Amanda
is really-
Seyfried.
Yeah, that's like so random.
Okay.
But okay.
Origin story, like
yeah,
back
well,
in the
I was
day.
thinking about the
Sure.
dropout,
Got it,
and
got
so
it.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah. Okay, no,
oh,
I see it, I see
maybe her. No, but
see
Kate
it.
Blanchett's a much better idea.
I would die as a gift. Anyways. Oh my gosh.
That is okay.
fantasy casting.
Also, speaking of like casting movies, have you ever thought about returning to Gloria for the biopic when it is made, if it is made, or have you?
I mean, they would listen.
You're like, I won't say no.
I won't say no, but we gotta get on that because it is, the clock is ticking, and at a certain point, I think it would be a little weird if I was still playing her because I played her from 17 to 34 in the. I was about to say in the film, in the musical. So. Yeah, I think we have like a solid 2 years before. I mean, I still play 20s on TV. And,
I was gonna say,
you know,
can
and
still
I get
do it.
recast if I look too young for people like Vince Vaughn, but that's fine.
But also, like,
Spilling some tea.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm
No,
dead.
We're not still mad about it.
No, wait, for which one? Can you spell the T, or is that a?
Yeah, I mean it's public knowledge.
Oh.
I was doing when I was doing Chicago,
Which we'll also get to.
Yes, which was so fun. But I ended up doing it for 8 weeks. I was supposed to do it just for 6 weeks, but it was just so fun. And during that time, I had actually shot a pilot right before, at the end of lockdown. And then when the pilot got like picked up, which was Night Court with Melissa Rauch and all these wonderful
Yes.
folks. When it got picked up, my character was completely reimagined and completely rethought. And two of us were actually kind of like in the same boat. And so that was like hard, but it wasn't like a, it was an NBC comedy. Again, lovely team, incredible. But and it was hard for like a day. I was like in
Of course, I would be
taking my
too.
depression bubble bath and like
Yeah.
blasting like close every door from Joseph. Like, I love you. Oh my and I was just like, nothing will ever be the same. But I have to go to the theater because my half hours. That's it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
So it was fine because I was working. So it's not like I got to pour it all into Roxy for like whatever a week and then I was over it.
Right.
which is how I tend to filter my thoughts or feelings is like through work.
Of course.
Right, as we do.
Yeah.
And so then I start auditioning again, because then, you know, as soon as, if you're a series regular on something, then like you're not available until you're available. And so suddenly it went from a bad thing to a good thing, because suddenly I'm playing Roxy on Broadway and I'm available again.
Right.
Sure.
So then I was like going in for all these other things, all these other projects, and this one script comes to me, and it's this great comedy, executive produced by Bill Lawrence, who's a genius and who I love, and I love Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Apple TV, and it's starring Vince Vaughn. And I read for it, whatever. They fly me to LA on a day off from Chicago. I test with Vince. It was amazing. I mean, it was just, you watch him in films and you're just like, damn, like,
Yeah.
was that on the page, or was that just you? And it's 50-50, because like the
Sure.
page has to be good, but the way he just riffs off of things and goes into these like those iconic like little speeches of his. Those iconic. No,
She
you're good. You're
agrees.
good.
Yeah.
Those iconic little speeches of his, that where he's just riffing off the script. That's where like the brilliance and the improv and like where you see these stars, like why they are who they are, right?
Of course.
And so I go in and I'm like just playing ball. And the good thing about theater is it prepares you for that type of thing. I'm like, zip, zap, zop, bitch. I am not here. I am not sitting
zap,
here
bitch.
to just tell you some lines off this beautiful page.
Yeah.
I can play.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm going
Right.
to volley.
And so when I was done, when we were like done going through everything on that day, he like shakes my hand. He's like, yeah, it's nice to play tennis with someone who knows how to play tennis.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, Vince.
Okay,
whatever.
sir.
Here.
I get back to New York, and like, I don't know, it was like maybe all of 6-7 days. I was walking out of a yoga class at Equinox in Soho.
Boom.
Boom.
Shout out.
And,
Shout out
our
our sponsor.
Ad pops up.
Equinox girly.
It's me like this.
And literally, I'm at CVS getting a Gatorade because I thought I was gonna pass out. And I get a FaceTime from my team and that I had booked it, and I like start crying. It was this whole thing. 5 months from that moment, I get a call. I'm living in my place on location. I'm like, you know, we've already shot the pilot, and I've done all the work. You know, my apartment looks like a crime scene with like just like the background story and like all the, you know, the character work that I had done.
Of course.
And it's based on a book, so I'd read the book like 3 times by this point. And I get this devastating phone call that I was being recast because I looked too young next to Vince. That it looked on camera, like on screen, that in real life it was great, but that
Right.
on screen it was problematic because he looked significantly older and it was like feeling rapey.
Yeah. The most
Yeah.
heartbreaking
Oh my
like
God, I
compliment you could
was
ever
so
get. You're
out
like,
I learned how to
control.
drink tequila that spring.
girl.
But you know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's like, so that, yeah, those are real things.
Wow.
So
That's
back
crazy.
to the on your feet. I
Yeah.
do look young.
Right. I think you could
Just
still
ask
do
Vince
it.
Vaughn.
Just ask Vince Vaughn. Title of that.
That's okay. So we mentioned Chicago for a hot second.
We sure did.
Which I personally believe to be the most. Did you forget something?
My phone's somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So go on.
To me, that is the most relevant show on Broadway right now.
I mean,
Genuinely.
I was doing it during the Kyle Rittenhouse trial,
See, that's what I mean.
and I was like inconsolable
Yeah.
because I was just like, it is it's all marketing. It's all
Yeah.
it all like who's guilty, who's not is.
And
It
the
doesn't even matter
public's infatuation with criminals.
Yeah.
And criminals in all senses, though. You know what I
Totally.
mean? Like, just like who.
I mean, we elected one president. So.
Exactly. That's what I. But you see what I mean? Give them the old razzle dazzle. Like, that
I
is
mean-
what
Nothing
it
matters
is
anymore.
about. And the fact that, when you did it in 2020?
I did it for the reopening of Broadway.
That's
So
what I-
2021, yeah.
2021. Like, the fact that even then it held so much resonance for you, and I think
Oh,
today
yeah.
it does so much. What did. They talk a lot about the legacy of that show constantly, you know, the Anne ranking and just like where it's
course.
coming from. How do you mix, or how is learning it? How did the legacy fit into that? And then how do you bring yourself to it while honoring the legacy?
So I have a very specific take on this because I was gifted the circumstances at which that allowed me to enter Chicago, right? It's 2020, Broadway's going to reopen. I get an email asking from Chicago on Broadway asking if I wanted to be Roxy or Velma to reopen Chicago on Broadway.
Which one?
And I was like,
You can
What?
pick. You can pick.
Yeah, I was like, we're literally, and I made a pros and cons list for each. I kid you not, this was like I had to think about
You
it.
played Velma in high school, didn't you?
I did. I
Yeah.
did. Miami Children's Theater.
I was gonna say.
Okay, Miami Children's
Yes,
Theater.
I know.
Moon,
her well, no, not Moon. That's a
Sensible.
different one. Who we
Oh.
love too, but we know.
Oh, I love Miami Children's Theater.
Oh my gosh.
Shout out.
I mean,
So a high school Velma, and you're like, who am I gonna revisit?
right, and I think Velma is, when I watched the film as a kid, Catherine Zeta-Jones, oh my God, like I
Yeah.
wanted to be her. Also, it's a better sing in theory, but it was Lynn actually who was like, Roxy has the arc.
100%.
Do Roxy, like you can play Velma later, like do Roxy. So I take Roxy. Little did I know, I hadn't put the pieces together at the time that I was the first person to play Roxy after Anne Rankin passed.
Wow.
So I was actually taught the show by Walter Bobby. And because Broadway had shut down, we had 4 weeks in rehearsal in a studio as a company. So I didn't go in the way that like Pamela Anderson, who was right after me.
Right.
in good company.
Pamela Anderson was plugged in how all the stars are, because like it's
Right.
such a revolving door, and like it's
Right.
a long running show. It's iconic, and like they get all these stars to come in and play, specifically Roxy, but both really.
Right.
And Billy Flynn. And so usually the stage managers teach the show and the dance captains teach the show, and then you're kind of plugged in a put-in.
Totally.
Right.
I had the luxury of being in a studio with the cast who was relearning the show,
That's
So
amazing.
they're so excited
as
to
well,
like
yes,
be back.
as well as the 4 newcomers. And I had never seen it. I still have never seen it.
Oh my God.
I've never seen it either.
You've never seen it either?
I've only seen the
but
movie.
you've seen the movie.
Yes.
I mean, the movie's so fantastic that
Right.
like it's
Correct.
you get the gravitas of it all.
Oh my
but
God,
I'm
100%.
so glad you've never seen it.
Yeah.
We have
I
to go
know.
see Michaela in it.
I know.
Our
Well,
pal
I-
is
Oh
in
my
it right
God,
now.
yeah, I know who she is.
Michaela
She's like
Renfro.
gorgeous, yeah.
Oh my God, she's the
Yeah.
best. She was our first ever guest on this podcast.
Wow.
Yeah. She's
Okay,
amazing.
so it's a very like, I mean, it's for all intents and purposes, it's a kind of small cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like the ambassador's like a very narrow space, so you like get all up in each other's business and whatnot, and it's like some people have been there for like upwards of 10 years. Like
Yeah.
it's like a career show.
Yeah.
So being part of that community and of that like little like really specific family was really, really cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and again, like I was supposed to do 6 weeks, and then I was having a ball, so I
love
extended
that.
like by 2.
That's everything.
The Roxy before the pandemic was. Are you a Housewives fan?
I'm not, but I
It
know
was Erica Jane, and
Yes.
she's about to do it again.
Correct.
She's
Wait,
going
she's
back.
going back?
She's going back. Oh, and I'm going to be there.
So that's gonna be
Yes.
our first time seeing Chicago.
I love
Oh
this for
yeah,
you.
and my mom's coming too, and she's never seen Chicago, and on Broadway, and she's like, I have to go see because I love Chicago.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know that.
And so we're gonna go see Erica Jane, but just talking about how like life imitates art.
Oh
art
my
imitates
Well,
God.
I
life.
mean, yeah, because then everything with the husband happened.
Her husband,
Yeah.
like the villain that he
I
is.
know the things.
Oh
I
my
know
God!
the
So I'm
things.
so intrigued to see her do it.
Yeah.
I don't know all the Broadway Housewives, but is this the same one that did the Miss Saigon tour?
No.
Who's that?
No. That's,
Wait,
honey,
what?
she's not a housewife. She's a friend. Of
Oh,
the
never
Housewives.
mind, never- I don't
No,
watch Housewives
Erica
either.
Jane. A bit essentially, her husband was like this very famous lawyer who was found to like be like stealing from literally like dying children because he was a lawyer and.
Wait, I don't know that.
I don't know
detail.
this. Tea.
And so he went to jail. I think he actually might be dead now. I'm not
Yikes.
entirely sure. But but Erica was getting all that. She had no idea.
Right.
Because she wasn't, and she was like found completely innocent. She didn't do anything. But that's just like life
I mean,
imitates
Roxy,
art.
hello.
That literally is just so
Yeah.
intriguing to. I'm so excited.
I
to
just
see
keep
her do
looking.
it.
Correct there.
It blows my mind when I was watching it, and I was the other person I was looking at was even like Gypsy Rose Blanchard, like just like the idea
What's
of
the whole
like
thing with her? I don't know.
It was
I missed,
that
that one is not for
her
me. I
mom
know.
You
was.
don't know Gypsy Rose Blanchard's story?
It was that her mom was like poisoning her essentially.
You know
and then-
Munchausen's by proxy. Like where if you've never heard this,
I
this
don't
is
know about
breaking
this.
news.
This is
I don't know about this.
I can't wait to tell her about this.
Please
Wait,
lock
you-
in.
Educate me.
The mother was like drugging her daughter to make her sick so that they would get like free trips to Disney World and like a bunch of media attention. She was giving her pills saying like
The
you have
daughter had no
cancer.
idea too.
The daughter didn't think she could walk or anything, and then one day she like started messaging this guy, and he was like you can walk, like, and like they like made like they were pen pals and they fell in love over Instagram or whatever, and then she was like, yeah, my mom is doing this to me, like I figured it out. And then he was like, I'm gonna kill your mom, and she was like, I'll help you. And so they killed her mom. And so then the whole idea is like like, was that justified? Like, is that self-defense because she was
self-defense?
poisoning her daughter?
But it wasn't like in the moment self-defense because it wasn't like
Right, it was like a crude.
Right, exactly.
It's
And
just-
also like
Like
the
rollover
boyfriend
minutes.
technically like wasn't self-defense. It wasn't
right.
self-defense. He was defense. So it's like they made like a documentary and a Hulu show about it, which is just so gagging to me. But like that's the tease. Like that's what
I would love to see her as Roxy Hart.
she's out of jail.
Honestly, not no.
Like-
Now that I know the story,
she's
I'm
out of
kind
jail
like,
now.
wait. See, but like I don't put Anna Delvey in that category.
I agree. I agree.
I think from what I'm hearing right now,
Yeah.
Gypsy Rose Lee and like Luigi.
Gypsy Rose Lee. the
I'm sorry.
Audra McDonald's Gypsy Rose.
That's where my brain goes.
no,
Okay.
Yes, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I'm right there with you.
I would love to see her replace Audra McDonald.
Whatever. You know what? The other Gypsy Rose.
I know. Why is her name Gypsy Rose?
I only speak musical theater. I'm like this whole like Gypsy Rose
look at our
Blanchard.
look at our wall. Of
Yeah.
course, we're the same.
Exactly.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Have you seen the new Gypsy?
No, I'm dying to because
Okay.
I'm obsessed with Leslie Margarita. I'm obsessed with Joy Woods. Obviously we know about Audra.
Yeah.
Like it's just
We know about her.
So I saw the first preview. I just saw it again 2 days ago. First preview, I'm not gonna lie. I've kind of talked about this hinted on the pod, but now I think fully speak freely.
Tell
I
us.
was very disappointed with the first preview. Spoiler alert, I loved
you just saw it again, yeah.
loved it the second time I saw
Wow.
it. It is one of my all-time favorite shows
Yeah,
of
I mean,
all time. Like I devour it. And so first preview, there were a lot of tech issues, and I think so understandably, it's such a wordy show. I
Yeah.
think they were really trying so hard to just get every word in to
Right,
the like
right,
and
right.
they're the best in the biz, so it's not like
Right.
they were struggling with it,
No.
but it just like I left being like, oh, that's the first Broadway Gypsy I saw, and I was so excited, and I was a
Yeah.
little disappointed. Just saw it 2 days ago. Holy fucking shit! It is
They made it work.
Well,
amazing.
I mean, listen, if you put I don't know, a pizza in the oven and you take it out after a minute, that's not going to be the same as if it's actually cooked. Like
exactly.
0%
Let
chance.
them cook.
Yeah,
and
let it cook.
This is exactly what it was. Where it was like they presented me this pizza with all the best toppings, and they were like,
Right.
You're
The
gonna
ingredients
love
are like
it.
top notch,
And
but
then
it's
it came
not
out
cooked.
undercooked,
It was
and I
so
was like,
frozen in the middle.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
was like, well, shit. I was so looking forward to this, and
Correct.
then now I got it, and I was like, delicious.
Yeah.
It's so good. Oh my god, I'll talk about Gypsy and I'll drink to that because it really was phenomenal. I think we might have our first ever tie for a best leading actress. I really do.
Really?
For Nicole and
Well, I was telling you, I really do think that.
You think it's Audra?
I think it's Audra just because I think that look at the Tony voters. I mean,
After can I get
after
this hat?
can I get this hat moment? I just like really don't. I mean, I know some people, some of those like 70-year-old white gay men are gonna be like, oh, how dare she? You know what I mean? And so I really think that.
I think that's actually a great segue. Speaking of, can I get this hat? Speaking of the amazing date that we're on today, a national holiday.
Oh my God.
January 6th.
Which, mind you, as soon as you guys were like January 6th, I was like, okay, a reframe.
No, but
But I think we should talk about NA because I'd love to
Yes,
chat
well,
about
wait,
that.
I was actually going to bring it up anyway,
Yeah.
minus this segue,
Please.
because of the preview conversation.
Uh-huh.
Because NA was so, the language brilliantly written by Mario Correa was really dense and really difficult to remember because it's not in any kind of chronology. It's not a narrative. It's not, giving you like a story. It's just like all these ideas. And technically 90 minutes of a fight, like if my brain goes this way, I'm going to start talking about this. And like, there's no, so it was really a difficult piece to learn. And Holland, if she were sitting right here, would be like, I was not, like, we were not ready at preview number one. Like, I
Sure.
would say it took a minute, like, until we were, like, open. The show, as it was written, was not what people were getting.
Totally.
Right.
Know?
Especially
And
with
obviously, like,
wordy
you're still
things.
getting rewrites and whatnot, but it was it was political jargon. It was a play in a string of ideas, not in like any kind of narrative order. So it wasn't like I went to the store, I bought the bread, I brought the bed home. Like it wasn't like A, B, C. It was all just like random scatter.
Uh-huh.
And
so I wish I saw it.
oh my god, it was so. I
too.
mean, going toe to toe with the likes of her was out of control.
I'm sure her as her. It's like
Yeah, oh my God.
both. Like
Yes,
just
correct.
a lot.
But that just plays into the whole idea of like N and A too.
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like AOC going up
100.
against. Oh my gosh! But anyways, I want to talk about that because isn't there a scene? Isn't the end about isn't there a scene where like you're hiding during January 6th?
Yes.
Okay.
So there is a scene where I'm hiding during the insurrection, and it was directed by Diane Paulus, and like the graphics in the back on this screen, everything was very minimalist on stage, and I'm sitting on like a cube, but it's see-through, it's clear, and it's like these like clear, thick plastic set pieces that were evoking all of the furniture and all of the spaces we were in, and they would just kind of be reconfigured throughout each scene. And for this one scene, I'm in a little pool of light, isolated, like downstage right, and I'm like kind of cowering barefoot on this little clear seat, I guess, and it's meant to be her bathroom, which is where she was hiding during the insurrection. And basically the Capitol is all like connected to all these office buildings throughout a series of tunnels underground. And she was in her office, which was in a building that's adjacent to the Capitol, but it's connected through these underground things, right? And obviously being AOC, she was panicked, rightfully so, because like there are certain people that
She's a target.
are
She was
targets
really
and that are
Her and Nancy
hated
Pelosi.
even more than
Yeah.
everyone else. Because of just, I think, the audacity and the way that they take up space without shame, which is something I like really, really respect and admire, right? And so she was in her bathroom because when they started knocking on the doors and they're like, where is she? Where is she?
Oh my God.
And she assumed, naturally, as one would in that situation, that it was the insurrectionists, but it was actually a cop
Trying to protect her,
trying to
right?
protect
I
her and
remember
trying
that
to
story.
take her through the underground tunnel to a safe
Because they knew
place.
she was a target too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So when all of this
Just
happened,
hearing that,
It's
like,
fucking disgusting.
It's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
so when all of this happened, and I don't know like how aware you guys were of this when it was happening in real time, but like right after the insurrection,
this bitch is clocked in.
AOC like did a video talking about her experience and about the fear and whatever.
Yes.
And a lot of backlash that she was receiving was like, you weren't even in the building. So if you know that it's all connected, A, and B, like she had every right to be afraid as a target of hatred in this country. So
Yes.
fast forward, here I am doing this scene, and originally it was written in a different way, and this goes back to, saying you want a Bellini when mimosas are being served. Like
Right.
when I first read the scene, because I'm just on this cube in this pool of light, and there's screens behind me with like all of this really aggressive, these violent images and stuff, and there's a lot of sound cues, the screaming, glass breaking, the knocks on the door, and all this stuff. The original sound cues were actually different, and I remember hearing them and being like, I think we should keep it to exactly what she said it was, so that, I mean, if
Yeah.
a random conservative comes into Lincoln Center wanting to see this show, it can't be, nobody can negate the truth of it and the realness
Yeah,
of it.
Right.
Totally.
And the authenticity. And it was kind of amazing that Diane and Mario, because I happened to have been very cued in on all of that drama when it happened.
Yeah.
Because I do like to be really informed, and especially when there's like, oh, he said, she said type things, like this
Yeah.
whole Justin Baldoni thing.
Oh my God.
Like,
Yeah.
I will
yes.
be the number one source of the facts so
Yeah.
that no one can argue with me.
It is
Because I don't want to hear your
crazy.
version of the headlines of the thing that some TikToker, but like,
Right.
I want the whole story. So they ended up changing the sound cue
To make it more
to make it
truthful.
right.
Well,
Wow.
the truth is always scarier, honestly.
Well, correct.
It's like,
Because there's an ambiguity to it, too.
right. Like, I can't imagine what it was, but I'm sure if, whatever it's trying to be that gets this aggressive feel
Right.
might be not as scary as a simple knock.
Totally.
Like, that could freak. I don't know what, but
Totally,
it's just like the
totally.
truth is always going to be.
For sure.
More
And especially
terrifying.
in something like this, where it's like, it'll then withstand the test of time. And I don't think it was malicious or like intentionally trying to be misleading. I think it's just like we were in a position of, or not we, Mario was in a position of, creating a show and telling a story based on real historical facts, but in a fictionalized version.
Right.
Because these are not real conversations that have been like, a stenographer took.
Documented. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So it was a really heavy show and a really heavy experience, a really heavy summer. It was, also the election and everything going on during it. It was like a really intense time to like
Season,
be
yeah.
willingly
Season, girl.
in that headspace. So I
So
go
that was
home and watch
current,
like
current.
Disney Plus. Yes.
That was like when it was happening, it was like during election.
Oh, it was like during the
It was-
DNC. It was when President
Holy
Biden
shit.
Was
stepped away. Yeah, like the
This
whole thing.
is gagging to me because when you talked about like having that one random conservative in there, I was at work when I was serving tables and I was about to go. I actually worked on the Kamala Harris campaign or the
Oh
Joe
my
Biden
God,
campaign,
yeah.
and I knew I was leaving to go work there, but before I left, I was working one of my last shifts, and one of my managers who was kind of like not conservative, but just kind of like one of those bros, like kind of like a Joe Rogan type of guy, was talking about it, and he saw the show, and I was like, "What do you think of it?" And he was like, "It actually like really made me like it like made me open like those like whole those cliches like it made me open my eyes. I'm like I like really respect both Nancy Pelosi and AOC blah, blah, blah." And I was like, wow, I'm like
It
so
was
glad that you had that
Oh, that makes
experience.
me so happy because
Yeah.
it's funny. Mario, with any show that's like original, you're going through series of rewrites throughout the process, through rehearsal, through previews until it's locked or frozen. And and it's like, you want to have the pull of drama. You want to have, there's a lot of structural things that need to be there. And there's also the challenge of making sure that it is going to represent the overall what you want to say in a you can't get lost like the forest for the trees type thing.
Right.
Yes.
It's so hard.
Yeah, and so with something like this, Mario is a gay immigrant. And so like it was interesting that like his perspective was so necessary and ended up coming across so clearly in my opinion, because like it's more of a generational clash throughout the show,
Right.
the
Yes.
Pelosi and AOC of it, and how can you get these two really specific, really well-known characters to represent anybody who's seated out there? And for me it was a challenge because 90% of the time the audience, at least aesthetically, really reflected Holland Taylor a lot more than me.
Of course,
by
especially
a lot.
ticket
I'm
buyers,
sure, like, the
Lincoln
Upper West
Center,
Side.
Correct.
everything. Yeah.
So that
Center
was
left people.
sometimes very difficult, and I could hear them clutching their pearls and gasping when I would say certain words like privilege, or when I would start talking about the border, or certain there was a lot of
Almost
I
eye
would-
rolly, I'm sure.
I'm
of
like,
like
so
here she
upset
goes,
that I didn't go
like-
see the show.
it was
I
it
saw,
was a lot.
I saw an interview with Holland Taylor, with both of y'all, where
best.
she, oh my God, I'm sure. She
Yeah.
talked about it being feeling, like you talked about the words feeling very musical almost. Are there any lines that you're like, I can still ramble this off of? Like, I've drilled that in so hard, I know how to like, you don't have to.
I mean,
if you
there's a
can't.
lot of them, to be honest with you. It's interesting because I think this is probably the character that I've played that is the furthest from Anna.
Sure.
Really?
Yes, she's
Okay.
very analytical, logistical, very like math, almost brain science. Like, I am not. A lot of the people I've played are creatives deep down. Not saying that AOC
No,
is
but-
not creative,
Yeah.
but it's just like it's a different piece
Artistically
of my brain.
creative.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, totally.
And
Oh,
so I had to
totally.
like
I
tap
see
into like
that.
such a different place.
Mm-hmm.
But like more than anything, it was the mannerisms. Like it was the voice and the mannerisms and going this way and everything being very, very forward because you have to land the point.
I
you
just
ever-
locked in a little bit with
That-
you. I was like this.
Please welcome AOC.
AOC.
Did you ever get to meet her, or have you met
No,
her?
I did not. Their teams did reach out, especially in the beginning. But it was a really heated time.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I don't think it would have been a good look optically if while the Democratic Party was going through all of that, because this was May through August, I don't think it would have been a good look for either of them to be like, let me go watch a play about me.
Right.
That,
Totally.
but
You know?
that what an interesting time to do that
Yeah.
play because, well, first of all, Nancy Pelosi and AOC in their own rights to me personally, because I'm a very political person, are like heroes of mine.
they're stars.
I love both of them.
Yeah.
And that's why I wish I was able to see the show. But what an interesting time, because often they were at odds with one another. But at that moment in time, they kind of both were on. They're like side swapped. Like they were at
Right.
odds, but like AOC was the one fighting for Joe Biden to stay. When you
Right.
think Nancy
You would think it's
Pelosi
the
would be
other way,
but Nancy
yeah.
Pelosi was the one doing all like the stuff, the maneuvering to get him
yes.
out. What an interesting time.
I saw a meme which was like the best because even I said it on Oh my God, what's this guy? The Watch What Happens Live.
Andy Cohen.
Andy
Cohen,
Cohen,
okay.
my other like
Okay,
other idol.
So I did a podcast with him. Holland
No.
and I, yes, and I like quoted
blunt
this
rotation.
meme.
That's my dream blunt rotation.
Honestly, same. And I was like, oh, I saw a meme this morning that was like, Nancy Pelosi is the Kris Jenner of the Democratic Party, and
Honey.
it was so
Getting shit
spot
done.
on.
Yeah.
It was so
Honestly,
spot on.
that's such tea.
Oh.
Yeah.
Also, in that same interview that she talked about it being musical,
Yeah.
I need an explanation on this. You said that you taught her what a thirst trap was.
I did. It was in the beginning. It was
What?
in the beginning.
How did that start? When?
Well,
did...
it was because I our dressing rooms had just been unlocked, and I went backstage like the first day that I went into our dressing rooms were, when I tell you, huge. It was like for like massive ensembles, and each of us were just like, this'll do.
Stretching
You know,
out.
and we had like an adjoining bathroom, like if you're like at a Ramada or something with like, you know, like where like the bathroom adjoins the two suites, whatever. We each had
Amazing.
our own bathrooms and the adjoining bathroom. I don't think any of us ever used it. But when our dressing rooms were unlocked backstage at Lincoln Center, I went backstage. I was wearing a crop top and I was wearing like low-rise jeans, and I took a picture in the mirror. And then when I walked back to the studio, because we were like on like a 5 or a 10 or something, and when I walked back to the studio, I was, you know, like you like put up the saturation or something
Yeah.
to like make it cute
Of
and before you
course.
put it on your story. And so I was putting it on my story, and she's like, "What are you?" And she's like looking at my phone, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm posting a thirst trap." And she's like,
She's like,
"A what?" And I was like, "A thirst trap." And I had to like kind of break it down for her a little bit. I'm like, it's a picture that was completely unnecessary and is a little too sexy. That's also not necessary, but like you want to put it up anyway, and you can
Yeah.
be like, "Happy Monday" or whatever.
Right,
Like there's
exact-
literally
yeah.
no point other than like I look good in this.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
Was she like,
to trap the
"Interesting."
people?
she's like, yes, I'm
She was
trapping
like-
them. They're in my hands.
She loved it. She loved it. But,
She was
but
like,
there
"Oh,
were
yes."
a lot of things like that. Like she was very into, because it was Brat Summer. So
Oh.
she learned about that. She learned about so many things.
What have
There
you
was-
learned about?
That I am not able to disclose.
Yes, mama.
Okay, so before we head out, I definitely want to touch on Sinatra.
Let's touch.
First of all, I don't know a lot about his life, like at all. I know
Ooh.
who's Frank Sinatra. I
He
don't
lived an
know.
intriguing life, I think.
Yes,
I mean,
very.
I'm sure it was very exciting. But who have you been developing in the story of his life?
So I play Ava Gardner,
Uh-huh.
who of course was a movie star
Mm-hmm.
icon, and was also his second wife, and who is
Oh.
responsible for his comeback.
No
his
way.
career. Yeah.
So where can you talk about like when you meet him in the show and like what that like?
I can.
yeah.
So, okay. It's interesting because like obviously like I know like the history itself, and then I
Right.
know like what
What
we're
the
doing in
book
the
is,
show.
right.
But when I first got the email, I was like, wait, what? This is really interesting because it's not I've always been searching for things that excite me and that are really well written, but also for characters that aren't necessarily like what everyone would expect for me to play. I
Of
think like
course.
obviously I'm like really, really grateful for the way that my career has happened and the way that that I have come to represent, I think, my culture on stage and on screen. But, or yes, and I also am really excited about people seeing me in spaces that wouldn't necessarily be like automatically associated with me
Yeah,
or with people
totally.
like me.
That's what I thought about with
Um,
Chicago when that announcement
yeah.
came out. I
Well,
was
exactly.
like, oh, like it was
Yeah.
one of those moments of like, interesting. Didn't see that. Oh, but it's perfect. You know,
Thank
like,
you. Which
know.
actually is another reason why I did Roxy and not Velma, because
Yeah.
obviously Velma is very associated with Cheetah,
Right.
And we worship at the altar. But
course.
it was an interesting. It was just like the unexpected choice.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
So I get the email that they're doing this musical, and it's Kathleen Marshall directing. Going back to Chicago, hello. I was like, I need your brother to know that I'm alive. But it's Kathleen Marshall director, who's incredible. And
Holy shit, they're siblings?
yes,
Oh my god.
yes. Welcome to Earth.
Blown. Of course they are.
Welcome to Earth.
Sorry. Okay,
Yes.
continue.
And she's a goddess, and she
Yeah.
started as a dancer too. So she, again, going back to like wanting to work with people who understand and approach not from like a I'm looking down on you mentality, but from like a let's all go to the party mentality. I was very excited about working with her. I love Sutton Foster. I love what she did with her. And I also think that it's very, very exciting to have a musical about a problematic cis, white, Italian man who was very problematic and very much known for being a womanizer and all this stuff, directed by a woman.
Totally.
I thought that was really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And so I read the script, and I was blown away by one scene in particular, which is Ava Gardner in the second act. And this is, again, historical, so it's not like a spoiler about the show. Having this incredible monologue about having an abortion.
Wow.
And that's what made me want to audition.
Wow.
And so I go in and I audition, and the material musically was, oh my gosh. Whatever. The material musically, it's obviously his music, right? And I can't even think of what the song is, and mind you, it's like my entrance. But but that was the audition, like the main.
There's a
audition
fierce
song.
video online of you singing "Nice and Easy." I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's what it
Is that what it
was?
was? Oh, Mama, you're eating it up. You sound great.
Thank you.
It sounds so
Well,
good.
and so again, going back to like the unexpected thing, when I finished singing, Kathleen comes up to me and she goes, "I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could sing like that," because it's more, classic MT,
Right.
more like, not a pop score.
Yeah.
These
It
are
wasn't
classics.
Gloria, and even Chicago
Correct.
has a little bit of that like sultry, like
Correct.
talk singy almost.
Exactly.
Like this is like
Legit.
let's use our diaphragm and sing.
Right.
Like,
Correct. And I'm
let
like,
us.
I have a degree in opera,
Right.
actually.
Period.
So like, so it was one of those moments that I was like, oh, this is really exciting on not just from my perspective. Like it's potentially also exciting from the other side. And I felt like this like really it's hard to describe, but like a draw to emulate and honor this woman who is categorized as like this vamp, come hither type thing. And I wanted to kind of get to the bottom of like why
Yeah.
and where she came from and stuff. So that's kind of what like drew me toward it. And then when I got the part, I was like, oh, okay, so I'm taking risks and they're taking risks, because again, like not exactly the clear choice when you're thinking of like all of the musical theater girlies in New York City, like, am I a little brown? Yes. but it's exciting.
Yeah.
And so that's like, I guess what I can say to that. But Ava is a very dynamic, very ahead of her time, feminist, like icon
Yeah.
who comes into Frank's life and is an affair at first. And these men love to think that there's no consequences, but she's a walking consequence to him and ends up holding him highly and massively accountable. And what I love about the show is that one of our executive producers is Tina Sinatra, which is Frank's daughter. And she has been like there every step of the way and is not afraid to show that her father was not perfect. Like it's not putting him on a pedestal.
Yeah.
It's kind of dissecting his lowest point actually in life.
Which
and the
goes, like-
women around him who made him who he is.
To
I
me,
love
it's
that.
like that
Yeah.
answers the question of why do the Sinatra musical?
Correct.
Because like if we wanted to do the Sinatra musical that just honors him, it's like why do that? His discography does that on its own.
Oh,
you know
100%.
what I mean? Like
it stands the test of time.
it stands the test of time, and so like why put it up on stage if not to kind of do the unexpected and do
Yeah.
the thing that maybe makes you say, oh, this is an interesting character to follow and
Tell the
discover.
story of this womanizer.
Yeah.
Correct.
Like through by
Through the
a
wo-
directing by a woman, like things
Yeah.
like that. It's so intriguing.
It's really brave. I think that the way that they're approaching it, and the way that they're leaning into the fact that he wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to see the Frank Sinatra musical that's like squeaky clean and like
Right.
glossing
New York,
over the
New
mob,
York, yeah.
glossing over the
Right.
fact that he was like cheating on everybody. And,
Right.
and there's a really great line in the show actually, which is his manager he's kind of talking to his manager about why he's so crazy about Ava. And he's like, I don't get it, Georgie. Why am I so crazy about her? And his manager goes, well, she sleeps with whoever she wants. She's obsessed with her career. She's you in a skirt. And it's like this kind of like meet your match thing. And then at
Totally.
the end of the show, he like kind of, has a conversation with his first wife, Nancy, who was an incredible woman. and she's like, I'm not going to be the woman that you run home to between wives and girlfriends.
Right.
And like it's like stuff like that I don't think we're used to seeing in a musical, but the fact that we have Kathleen at the helm and the fact that we have Tina kind of overseeing everything and protecting the estate, obviously, but also making sure that like her father is human and not some caricature of himself, because for that you go to Vegas and you watch The Impersonator.
And that will make it so successful. It reminds me of Jersey Boys. Like
Right.
Jersey Boys is so successful because they touch on all the problematic
Right.
parts of all four of them, and the
Yeah.
whole idea of like, I actually was Frank Sinatra also kind of in like the mob scene too.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because they talk
Yes.
about that in Jersey
no
Boys.
hesitation,
Right.
yes.
I was about to say because they touched.
Yeah,
actually,
they touch on it in the show.
They
too.
do. That's
yeah.
there's like this story about Jersey Boys when they were like got a letter in the mail, the producers of Jersey Boys, and they were like meet at this telephone, this like literally this old timey telephone in New York City at this time. And so the producers went, and it was like the mob. They were like, we need you to send us a script so we can approve this because we want to make sure that
Wow.
our mob boss is like not being
That's
Yeah, like
crazy.
depicted a certain way. And so they
Belittles or-
did because
right.
they were like,
That's
we
crazy.
have to
Yeah,
do
we're not
that.
trying to burn that bridge.
And they and the
No.
mob wrote back and they're like, oh yeah, we love it. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
But that just reminded me
Wild.
of that.
Yeah, I mean that's not that. I don't
but
think
touching
that's
on-
that crazy at this point.
I mean,
like,
you know-
there's crazier things.
I'm so excited to see kind of the where that goes because it looks
Yeah.
so fun and cool. I was so
Thank
excited to see you're a
you.
part of that.
I'm excited. I mean, we literally just had our last like workshop and presentation in November, and yeah, it looks like there's going to be updates very soon.
Can you talk about the bracelet, or is that a secret thing?
Yes, I can talk about the bracelet. So when I got NA, actually, I FaceTimed with Tina backstage, and I was like showing her my dressing room and stuff, and she was like, give me your address. I had just moved into my new apartment, and she was like, give me your address. And so she just like sends on a whim, but this is like such a Tina thing, and it's this gold bracelet that like you would never see from far away. It just looks like a regular thing, but really close, it's like engraved on these 3 plates. It says Tina loves Anna.
that is so
So
sweet.
But it's like the most her thing ever. Like from far,
Yeah.
it's like very elegant. You would never know, but like if you really look closely,
It's kind of like a friendship bracelet. Like
It
the
is
closer you
totally our
get,
friendship
it's
bracelet.
So sweet.
That
I
is
know,
We
so
should
she's
get
cute.
those.
We should.
You should. Everyone should.
The ladies who
The
brunch.
ladies who brunch.
Oh my
I love
gosh.
that.
Should we move on to our final segment?
Yes.
Do you want to introduce it, Diva?
I would love nothing more than to introduce our final segment.
Oh
Our
my
final
God.
segment, which is just so singular to our podcast, is I'll Drink to That, which we touched on a little bit.
Oh,
but
yes.
Yeah.
for everyone at home, I'll Drink to That, is where we just spill but what we're gagging over, or what is like just on our minds and on our mouths.
Whips out phones.
And on our lips. me whipping it out to remind myself what it
Mine
is.
too. That's the thing is, I just love so many things.
You want me to
So
start?
do I.
Yeah.
Do you
But
wanna
also, you
start?
guys don't have drinks.
Well,
Gag.
Get yourself a
Camera, turn it
refill.
off, turn
Get
it off.
yourself a refill.
I have a little sip.
Okay, you're good.
Do you want me to start? or do
yeah,
wanna
you start. You want me start? You want you start?
I have a couple.
I do
okay.
too.
Oh my God, should I have more than one? Okay,
No,
well, I'll be
you-
brainstorming.
whatever.
I'll be
If
brainstorming.
something like sparks your interest,
Sparks your
like,
interest,
yeah.
strikes your fancy, some might say.
Done.
Yeah.
Mine is couple. Mine is couple. Speak normal, Jake. Speak normal. First,
Okay.
first is Nikki Glaser at the Golden Globes.
Everything.
I think she.
Popular.
Popular
Popular.
was so good.
She needs. I think we're on like her renaissance, not renaissance, but like. Because I know she's been famous for a while, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
then she went to that phase where like people kind of were upset with her about Taylor Swift, and then now, but also do you know that she like has gone to the Eras tour 22 times?
22 times.
That's crazy.
She's feeling 22, girl.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
know.
say.
She
wow.
said I had to see it 22 times. I was like, you are crazy.
Correct.
But I love her. She is so.
Also, I'm very interested to know
funny.
like what cities. But anyway, go on.
I know,
Yeah.
like
Go on, go on.
where
I
did you
digress.
go? I know, like multiple cities, multiple days. Also, do you guys know Remy Wolf?
Yeah.
I think she's the next pop girl. I think she's the next
Really?
Chaperone. Even though
Really?
Chaperone is still. Listen to Soup by
I
Remy
do
Wolf.
love Soup.
Soup.
That song.
Soup is great.
I walk down the streets to it. Yes,
Yeah.
it is
Is
so
that how
good.
it goes, or is that your reaction?
Both.
That is- no, that's just me walking down the
Oh,
street.
okay, got it.
And then my final one is because I added Nikki Glaser to this list. I've been keeping a list of my dream dinner guests, and I'm going to share with the
That's
ladies.
great.
And I just added Nikki Glaser if I
Just
can
reminded
find
me
it.
of your other list you have on your phone about the Traders. Are you a Traders person? It's great reality show.
You have to watch the
Oh,
trailers.
I've heard it. This is the Alan Cumming thing.
Yes.
Yes.
Coming
Okay.
back in like
Yes.
2 days.
What are you talking about? Me with the traders? What do I do?
Don't you have a list of like your dream traders?
Oh, I did that. I don't know if
Is
I
it
still
in a
have
castle?
Yes.
Okay.
in
It's
Scotland.
so good.
I know
You
the
would
one.
be great on that show.
I know
I
the
feel
one.
like. I feel like you would.
I'm in.
I know I would eat it up.
There would be a Broadway Traders. That'd be iconic.
Yes.
Ooh.
Hosted by us, bitch.
In kilts.
But I kind of
Kills.
want to be a
Like
trader
this.
so bad, even though I've never been on Broadway. Please, let me be a trader.
Yeah. Please.
Anyway, so I had a Nikki Glaser. This is my dream dinner guests, and I just thought I would share with everybody.
Okay.
Nikki Glaser.
Yeah.
Kiki Palmer. Brittany Broski. Claire Saffitz. This is niche. You know Claire Saffitz from Bon Appetit, or yeah.
Oh,
She does
yes,
she on the YouTube Bon Appetit. She like used to
On
make
the
gourmet
YouTube?
makes on the YouTube. I love Claire Saffitz. That's
the
really
one that's like, I'm gonna make a waffle cone thingy.
yeah. She's like,
Yes.
let me show you how to make a Kit Kat from scratch.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that made
Gourmet
the
makes.
cereal?
Yes.
Yes, she
yes.
does all that stuff. Love her.
with the white streak
Is she
in her
on
hair.
purpose? What is her?
She
Is
what?
it ironic? Is it on purpose? What is?
Oh, I think it's
I don't-
like I don't know.
I don't know either. She also does not with Bon Appetit. She now like lives in the woods upstate and like
That's
That's
what-
why
that's what I
I'm
mean.
saying though. Like I don't know if she's sarcastic or if this is her.
Or-
I think it's
don't
a mix
know.
of both.
Maybe
I
it's
think
like a
it's
character.
I think it might have started off really authentic, and then it has.
Now she's
she
a parody of
realized
herself.
like what
Now she's
works,
like,
and
I
she's
have-
like,
Right.
I need to now be the woodland
Like
fairy.
unhinged. Didn't she make
that-
paper for the? She was like, "Are you
Oh,
running out of
no.
time to do your?"
That's a TikTok girl. I know who you're talking about.
Okay.
The girl that makes everything from scratch on
Yeah.
TikTok.
Oh,
I love
I know
her.
And
her.
she was like,
Talking about
"Oh,
too.
you're running out of time to do last minute gift wrapping. Let's make paper." And I was like, "No, absolutely not, bitch.
She's like,
I'm going to
first-
Paper Source and spending all my money there."
I'm spending
Thank you.
$100 on 2 pieces of paper.
Correct, and a ribbon,
and a
A
ribbon.
ribbon and a pencil.
papyrus.
But anyways, Claire Saffitz, I love her. I'm also gonna add that girl because I love her. Anna
I don't wanna
Navarro,
go.
Oh, that's
I
good.
Yes, I love
love
her.
Ana
I
Navarro.
love her.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus,
Yes.
Rachel Maddow, Stacey Abrams, Sasha Velour, and Barack Obama. Those are my
Wait,
list.
what are you even serving?
Yeah, what do you serve at that meal?
I don't-
yourself.
Me. It's just me like serving.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just-
literally.
No, I think we have like a multi-course experience.
Okay.
Yeah, and omakase.
I don't
You know
like
what I
sushi
mean?
like that,
No?
but I like vegan sushi. I don't like raw fish. That vibe's this. I don't like that vibe.
One of my favorite stories is my parents. They come and they take my friends out to dinner a lot, and Jake is famously not a big fish eater, and my dad was like eating this fish, and he was like, "Jake, you have to try it," and Jake was like, "Okay," and I was like, and my dad is very persuasive and very, he's Colombian direct,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I was like, "Dad, stop!" Like, no, he doesn't like fish, and he was like, "Just try it." Jake is being like, "I'll try it," and I was like, "You do not have to try it."
Yeah.
Put
I
it
did,
down."
though, and I
You
liked
did,
it.
and you liked
What
it.
was it?
It was like a branzino
was like a
or
sh-
something.
Branzino.
I thought it was like a
That's good-
sashimi.
That's a
Or maybe that. I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
sashimi.
Yeah.
Sashimi.
That's a hard one to
I
start
was gonna
on.
say
Yeah, if it's served
No,
right though,
like
I
a
like it.
branzino is very
it's like flaky and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
easy.
Well, I'm from Kentucky, and like, so our seafood scene is non-existent.
Right.
So
Versus
every time I would have
Miami.
seafood, I was
Geographically,
like,
that makes sense.
right, and I would be like, this is disgusting. But when I would go to like when I'm living in New York or when
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I
yeah.
go
Yeah.
to Florida and have food, then it's like, oh, then this is good.
Right. That tracks.
Has to be
These are-
served correct.
Wait, where in Colombia is your dad from? I didn't know this.
I'm blanking because I've had a mimosa. My mom's from Mexico City.
'Kay.
My mom's from Mexico City. My dad's from Cali. That's
Oh,
what
okay,
it is.
cool.
I was like, it's not Bogota, but I was like,
Yeah,
Cali.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I love you, Dad. He doesn't talk about his childhood a lot.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
That's why.
We love a past.
Where's your family from?
Cuba and El Salvador. Yeah.
Work. Okay, these are my I'll drink to that's. I have a couple ideas for who should host the Tonys this year.
Ooh.
The first one is the most
Please sing
out
me,
of reach.
please
Are
sing
you
me.
hosting?
No, no.
It's like the breaking news. You were giving me like, oh, I don't know the tea.
I say nothing.
This one's out of reach, but I think it would bring in all the guests.
Tell me.
Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande
I mean,
co-hosting.
obviously.
They would be
yes.
so good.
They would
It'd
be so
great.
good. If they can't, maybe even just Cynthia. I think there's a world where she does it and is singing her face off of an opening number. I want dancers behind her, fan kicks,
Right.
lifts
Fan kick,
while
fan
she is like
Full out.
And I
full
want
out
all the backup dancers dressed as Alpha.
as Alphaba defying gravity.
100 of them.
The second one is
Flying.
less likely, but I think hear me out. RuPaul. Why?
Ugh, I love
I know
RuPaul.
that RuPaul would not bring in the audience that Tonys are necessarily looking for. However, the audience RuPaul would bring in is the people that are actually spending money on tickets and you are wanting to bring into the
You're not
theaters.
wrong.
The girls, the gals, and the theys. That's who we wait. The gays, the
The
girls, the guys, and the theys.
The girls, the gals, and the theys.
Yeah, no, we don't need the gals.
We don't
need
need
the
the gals.
girls. We need the gays, and we need the
theys.
theys.
Like that's who we're bringing in, and so
Correct.
it's like Anyway, that's my tea. My third one was Cola Scola as
I mean,
Mary
Todd Lincoln.
Todd Lincoln.
Yeah.
But hosting as
her,
you
right.
know.
She would be so.
that would be
she,
everything.
They would be so good at that.
My
Oh
other
God,
one-
Those are good, Sammy.
Thank you.
Did y'all hear that?
Get
to
them
work.
on.
CBS.
CBS.
Paramount.
Haley Kilgore being back on Broadway. Huge dink to that.
I love Haley Kilgore.
Where
Who's going to the
has she
opening?
been?
Who's going to the opening?
I-
She's
you
been
are-
everywhere. She's been on Power. She did Respect. Sorry, she's my
No.
best friend. You know this, right?
I didn't
Really?
know that.
Yes.
This is totally
No
coincidental.
way.
Yes.
Oh my God, I
Yes.
love her.
She's everything.
But
Anyway, go on.
but she needs to be on this stage. My goodness,
I
that
know.
girl is
I know.
a force.
I
I'm
saw her
so
TikTok the other
excited.
day where she was like getting home from her
Had
first
no
day. She
idea.
was just like freaking out. She was like, I'm just like so happy.
Yeah.
I was like, I
Oh
love
my
you.
God, I had absolutely
I
no
love her.
idea you guys were
Yeah,
besties.
like literally, like
That's your
besties.
person.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
She's
I am
gonna be.
seated. I
she's
cannot
gonna
wait.
be brilliant.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
gonna be
perfect
incredible.
role for
It's
her.
gonna be incredible.
I saw her twice as T Moon. And
I mean,
My
Yeah.
boyfriend saw it, and my boyfriend was like, it like changed his life.
yeah. Oh, I
mean-
bet it was. And then my final one is I'm gonna nerd out for a second.
I'm so excited.
The line that's repeated a lot in Gypsy, which is "I made her." Consistently, she says it, and the fact that that line holds so many meanings, and the way Audra plays it is so deep. It is quite literally, I made her into the person she is today, into the artist they are today, and also I literally made her.
Yeah.
Like I carried her,
Yeah.
and you want to know why? You want to know what I did it for? Because I started too soon, and I was born too soon, and I started too late. Like when you think about the idea of that literally being about giving life and being okay.
We
Arthur
love
No, I'm with
Lawrence,
you.
mother.
Arthur Lawrence,
We
you
love
are
a
fucking
toxic
genius. Title of F: We love a toxic mother.
She is the
yeah.
epitome of a toxic mama.
All right,
I mean,
Anna, you
100.
ready?
I mean, and she was so excited to get into that character because at the
Oh my
Tonys this
God.
year, she was like, it's the King Lear
It
of
is.
musical theater, and like it's
Yeah.
just such a monster of a role. And she was like, I just hope I do it justice. I was like, I literally put the microphone down. I was like, Audra, you're gonna do it.
There's
Like-
no way
like,
you can't.
already in
Yeah.
advance. Thank you from
I'll
the
say-
theater on behalf of the theater community.
So
Thank you.
y'all know how Rose starts from the audience, always sing "Ah, Louise" and comes out. So I knew where she was coming out from, and this time because I was with my family, I was right where she comes out.
Ooh.
So I knew. I was like the whole time, and I've for the past 3 days had her face from the start of the show engraved in my brain alongside the face that she has at the end of the show, and
Oh.
I'm just like this total journey and arc that she goes on, like. And it's not because those characters are like, I'm so hopeful at the beginning, very Elphaba, and then
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
not by
yeah.
the end. It's not that because she doesn't start from a hopeful place. It's I don't know. She's a wizard.
She's clocked in.
Yeah.
She's clocked into
just-
work.
and holding a dog in her hand. It's insane.
I love that.
Okay, do you know your all drink to that or that?
I do. I have a couple now.
Please.
You guys have
Yay!
been
Yes.
I'm inspired. So one of them, I'll start where I was gonna start originally, but then I'm gonna bring it back to theater. So have either of you watched The Penguin?
No, but I-
Is it good
You
though?
need to.
I'm in.
You need to.
I love
I'm
Colin
gonna,
Farrell.
Yeah. Well, Colin Farrell last night at the Globes, kind of like thanked in his acceptance speech, thanked Craft Services
Uh-huh.
on set, which is obviously like food on set, which is insane that they don't provide that for us when we're on Broadway, but they do when we're doing like The Least, which is like, on TV.
Dancers like
Right,
throwing their bodies around.
Yeah,
and it's
correct.
Like, eh.
And it's like you'll make $3 and you're welcome.
And if
you
there
know?
is something, it's like donuts. It's
Correct,
like, can
correct.
we have like
Like something
protein?
gluten-free,
please? Yeah.
things. Yeah.
I'm gluten free.
Stop giving me pizza. Dairy and gluten are bad for my jaw.
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
That's good.
But anyway, so he thanked Carolina from on set, his craft services person. I think that's an I drink to that moment because
Yeah.
whoever she is, she was walking into school. She was walking onto set today being like,
Yeah.
You heard
so
my
I
name.
did
yeah,
that.
that's me. But segueing from Colin Farrell to Kristen Milioti.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because she plays Sophia Falcone on the show
Yes.
brilliantly, like only a true theater queen could.
Right.
And we need to talk about that career.
Right?
Because she's finally getting her like flowers like out there. She has been for a long time. She's been working consistently. Like,
This is Once,
you know.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
She's one.
Yes.
One of the
That
best shows
was
of all
a
time.
long time
Yes.
ago.
Yes.
And when you think of that trajectory, because not everybody's Renee Rapp.
Right.
Not everybody. It's like
Ginny
bam.
Awards.
Correct.
Like it's
So
The Ginny Awards, the Broadway pipeline.
Right.
Correct. Correct. And so I think like I I'm very much big on her moment right now, and I'm really excited to see like what she does next because the way she ate on that show.
She's also so just like heart chakra open person. Like just like
Heart on your sleeve.
heart on your
yes.
sleeve. And
I
you're
don't even
like-
know her. I'm just
Yeah.
like low key
Fascinated.
obsessed with
Yeah.
her right now.
Her and Once is amazing.
Well, and
Oh
I
my
remember
God.
poring over all the video footage this back in the day,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
the album and like all these things, and so I'm just like it's really exciting to see somebody get their time
Yeah.
in that way. So like that's my big I'll drink to that. I
I
think right
love,
now. I love that.
Also, Ariana Grande when she thanked Botox and Juvederm.
Ooh.
Because I am done with these girls being like, I just drink a lot of water. No, you
No,
don't.
you don't.
you don't.
No, you do not. And I can tell you, no, you do not.
And there's also nothing wrong with it.
Well,
like
correct.
shout out.
I do love how open she is. She's like,
Yeah.
I get Botox. She's like, I haven't gotten in a couple years, and I'm probably gonna get it in a couple years. So
But
I
it's
love
just, it's
her.
fierce. When she said that, I was like, honestly, we love to see it because
My
everybody else is
favorite
lying.
during Popular when Nikki
Popular.
Glaser did the like this sucks and they panned to Ariana and she went no.
Yeah.
And I was like, Diva, you
can, like,
are
hear it.
you can literally hear it like through the microphone.
Truly.
No! Like
Yeah.
it's
I know.
hilarious.
Ariana, hold my
So
finger.
good.
Oh,
Hold my finger.
I just got a shirt from it.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had to.
I love
It
it.
showed up on my TikTok
I love
shop
your
and I
shirt
was like,
today.
Yeah, it's chaperone as Miss Peggy.
Miss Piggy would also be a great Tony's host.
Oh my God, 100%. The Muppets doing the Tonys would be like everything, to be honest.
I have a
He loves the
I
Muppets.
love
Do you
the
really?
Muppet. I
There's
love
nothing
the
more
Muppets.
like, I'm sorry, pure hip hop is the song Scrooge in Muppet Christmas Carol.
yeah.
Yes.
Pure hip hop. When
Oh.
that beat drops and he comes out,
Do you-
that is pure hip hop.
Do you know what took me out?
Jesus for the Mises? I'm sorry. Move over, T-Pain.
I
Like,
was
what?
watching
Move
it
over.
on Christmas, and when Rizzo the Rat is talking
Rizzo the Rat is
to
everything.
Gonzo, and he says something that like pisses Gonzo off, and they just stare at each other for a second, and then he just kisses his nose so gently and goes,
Yes, yes.
like it's so
It's brilliant.
funny. Like, what are you talking about?
Sammy loves the Muppets, and I'm going
Do you really?
to quote
No,
you. Sammy
please.
loves it because it's just a group of friends trying their darndest to put on a show. That's what
It's
Sammy
100%
says.
And they all suck at it. They're
Correct.
so.
But they just want to.
But they want to do such a good job. Like Kermit's really trying,
Yeah,
and Miss
Ernest.
Piggy's also like in all of her diva-ness is she's trying to put on a show,
And she's a star.
she's
Yeah.
a star. Everything's just going wrong around them, but like they're trying.
I need to hear her version of any Chaperone song.
good luck, babe.
No, like casual.
Pink Pony Club.
Fucked you in the bathroom when we went to dinner.
Perfection.
Those
So
were
good.
great all drinks to that.
Those were truly. I cannot thank you enough
Yeah,
for coming
this
on
was
here.
such a
This
blessing.
was
I'm so happy.
so much fun. The best way to start our new year. Can you tell the people where to find you on socials, all the things?
Yes, Ana Vilafañe official. I deleted Twitter because I have, a soul. And,
Yes, I need to.
I'm so close.
I'm
to
so
getting
close
there.
too. It
I
always
had to.
draws
I
me
was like,
back
I am
in.
Are you on
done.
Blue Sky, or are you just like, I'm done with?
No, I'm on Threads. I've been
Threads.
testing
Okay,
out
yeah, yeah,
Threads
yeah.
for like a moment.
I like Threads.
But it's not the same. I mean, I have to try that one. But it's just like I keep forgetting I have a TikTok, and it's the same. It's all
TikTok,
Ana
yeah.
Vilafañe official. I think I only really use Instagram. I
Yeah.
forget that I have TikTok. Then I'll make TikToks and save them as drafts, and then they never get posted. The last thing I posted was like the demure thing in the summer
Yes.
with Holland.
Oh, I saw that.
So that was like,
That's everything.
but that's a good last one. I don't know.
I love that.
I'm obsessed.
TBD.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thank
coming on.
We just
you.
adore
So
you.
nice meeting
Thank
you.
you. So fun.
All right. I will see you next week.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye.